Clemson is 0-2 in conference play for the first time since 2010. They lost in overtime to the Florida State Seminoles, but I don't think you should write off the Clemson Tigers yet. And you may be saying, huh? JT, the season is freaking over for Clemson. They lost to Duke. They lost to FSU. What else is there to root for when it comes to Clemson football in 2023? Well, if you watch their game against Florida State, to me, they look like the better team. And I really felt like Clemson should have won that game. You talk about an implosion and just giving the game away. How the hell do you miss a 29-yard go-ahead field goal? They make that field goal, plus they get a stop. They're having a different conversation today than what they are now. You see, Clemson is not a bad team. This is still a really good football team, and it was evident based on what we saw against Florida State. Their offense looked really good. Not only were they having success throwing the football with Cade Klubnik, but they also had a really good game on the ground. They had a completely balanced game on offense, and I felt like their defense played pretty well also. But when the game started to take a turn, is when Cade Klubnik got hit stick by Kalen DeLoach, and as soon as I saw that hit, I was like, yeah, like, the ball game is about to change, because Cade Klubnik didn't see Kalen DeLoach on that blitz, and I know Kalen DeLoach, when he saw that rushing lane coming wide open and nobody was about to block him, I know his eyes got wide. That dude came out like a bat out of hell on that blitz. He saw Cade Klubnik, that boy said, oh, boom! Knocks the ball out, gets the scoop and score a touchdown, and then it's 24-24. And then that's when I felt the game started to tilt in Florida State's favor. And that's when Clemson started to lose that momentum, especially when they missed that game-winning field goal from 29 yards out, and they had to go to overtime to win it. Plus, they didn't even want to attempt to do anything else when they got the final possession of the regular period. So the fact that Clemson was able to hang around with Florida State, a team that dominated LSU, shows me that this is still a really talented football team. You see, just because Dabo Swinney hasn't taken advantage of the transfer portal, and that kind of has been the reason why Clemson is in the position that they are right now, still doesn't mean that they don't have a talented roster. The problem with Clemson is that the issues that they have at certain positions aren't going to get fixed. You're going to have to rely on recruiting to fix that, and sometimes it can take 2 to 3 years to fix areas of need, such as the offensive line, versus using the transfer portal and just improving that position ASAP. But with Clemson, you still got a really good defense. You got a really good defensive line, and your offense showed you in your loss to FSU that they're capable of being able to have good performances. Cade Klubnik, for the most part, looks pretty solid. Now, is he as good as what Trevor Lawrence was, or Deshaun Watson, or even the dude before that in Taj Boyd? No, like, Cade Klubnik may be the worst quarterback that Clemson has started in the last couple of years, minus DJ Uiagalelei. But they can still win with Cade Klubnik based on how good their defense is able to play. And I still think that they got a pretty good defense. And when you look at Clemson's upcoming schedule, your next 2 games are on the road against Syracuse and at home against Wake Forest. You should be able to win those games. So you should be 4-2 going into your bye week before you got to go on the road and play the Miami Hurricanes. And you guys already know the team that I root for is all about the U. You feel me? But I still think that Clemson has a very good chance to beat the Miami Hurricanes because of how good they are up front and the fact that they have showed the ability to look serviceable on offense. You know, I just think in that loss against Florida State, the game kind of got away for Dabo Swinney late. The play calling wasn't great. The clock management was questionable. And just the overall execution late in this game costed Clemson the win. Clemson doesn't look like the same program that they once was 2 or 3 years ago. You see, what separates good teams from great teams is that you see Florida State, and some of their lackluster performances, like in this one and the previous week against Boston College, even though they didn't play their best football, they were still able to win games because they were able to come up big late in games when it mattered the most. And that's all that really matters. You see, it doesn't matter how good you start the game off if you're not able to play a whole entire 60 minutes. And that's something that Clemson hasn't really done a good job at this season. I don't think they do a very good job at playing the whole entire full game. They played a good 3 quarters in this game. They played a good 45 minutes, but the last 15 got won by FSU, and that's why Florida State won the game. You see, great teams have something that I call the trapdoor ability. Anytime it seems like they're about to lose, they just find a way to win. Clemson doesn't have that. And it was evident in their loss against FSU. But even though they don't have that, that doesn't mean that they're a bad team. This is still a team that can win 9-10 games. They probably could win out the rest of the year. It just depends on how many one-possession games are they going to find themselves in, and are they going to have the implosion in those games that they did against the Seminoles. You got to play NC State after you play Miami on the road. You got Notre Dame, Georgia Tech, UNC, South Carolina. I don't really see a single team on Clemson's schedule that I don't think they have a chance at being able to beat. I mean, I still think that they should beat their next 2 opponents, and they should at least be able to beat either Miami or Notre Dame, and they should be able to beat South Carolina and UNC, because I don't think North Carolina is that great of a team. And South Carolina, I just think they're a program that right now they're kind of stuck at 7-8 wins. Clemson, don't give up on them yet. This is still a very good team, and the game against FSU kind of got away from them late. But if they can play that same way that they did for the first 3 quarters for the remainder of the season, and they're just able to execute better in the 4th quarter when they need to go ahead and just seal the victory, I think that Clemson can turn their season around. So I'm not about to count out Clemson and Dabo Swinney just yet, even though they are off to a slow start. But I like what I saw in their loss to FSU. Now, against Duke, you know, they got ran out the building. It wasn't really close. Duke looked like a way better team. But if they were to play Duke again, you wonder if that game would go the same way, because week 1, teams tend to come out a little bit slow, a little bit rusty. So I'm not giving up on Clemson and Dabo Swinney just yet. There's still a lot of football to be played, and Clemson is still a really talented football team. It's not like FSU just steamrolled Clemson. Like, Clemson had fair control of that game. They kind of just choked it away.